Hey guys, it's the Nerd Next Door back with some freaking raging on the internet. My favorite thing to do, especially in like YouTube comment section, like change your name to Clorox Bleach and tell everyone to drink you. Those are my favorite people. Totally, I actually hate those people. I don't understand why there are so many of them. Anyway, today the topic is going to be Apple computers. So I was going to talk about Apple products in general, but there's kind of too much to cover. But in general, one of my annoyances with Apple products is that they claim to be innovating, but they never are. Like, even the iPad, Microsoft had already made a tablet before that. And the Apple Watch, there were already plenty of smartwatches before that. So there was not really any need for an Apple Watch. And the Apple Watch is actually really crappy if you actually look at what it does. But anyway, so because I'm focusing on Apple computers, I can be much more in detail. So I actually did some research for this one, so there are some actual good facts in here. I mean, I know what I'm talking about all the time, but I don't always do a lot of research. So, Apple computers, the main complaint I have about them is that they are way too expensive. Because I'm not going to say that I hate them because they're not powerful, because if they weren't as powerful as other computers but cheaper, I'd be totally okay with it. Or if they were expensive but really good, I'd be okay with it. However, they are expensive and crappy. So, I went on the Mac website to find the different kinds of Macs, and I went to the Mac Pro because that's going to be the most powerful one, you know? And it was complete garbage, okay? So, its GPU actually was complete trash. I found a list of GPUs when I was researching, and it was on the low end of the GPUs. Like, there were some that did, say, 8.6 teraflops, that was the best one. Some that did like 4 teraflops. Yeah, this one did freaking 2 teraflops. It was horrible, but anyway, so I looked up some of the parts that the best computer that they had has, and it's the Mac Pro that I'm doing. And so I found the price of each thing to show how expensive it is compared to how much it actually costs to make. And so here are some of the costs. So the processor is the Intel Xeon E5 1620 V2, and that costs $294. It's actually not that bad of a processor, but there are certainly better processors that they could have in a Mac Pro. So then, the RAM is the 4 gigabyte DDR3 1866 megahertz RAM card, and there are 3 of those. And together that comes to $137.85. And that's all 3 of them. So, then you have the storage. And so, I personally like SSDs more, and so I found an SSD. But it could be a variable cost depending on if you did like a standard hard drive. So that was the crucial 256 gigabytes SSD with SATA, and that costed $62.95. So then the motherboard, I didn't want to put too much research into the motherboard, so I just found one that is compatible with the Mac Pro. So that could possibly be less, but the motherboard that I found costed $250. So then the power supply, I assume that the Mac Pro has a built-in power supply to the custom case. So I didn't find a specific one for the Mac Pro, but I found one that I know is good and has a lot of ports that I could use for all the different things. And so that was the EVGA 100W10 KR 500 watt power supply, and that came to $40. And so then the video card was I couldn't find the actual video card that I had because it was an AMD one, and it didn't have a price anywhere. Because I could find it on the AMD website, but there wasn't a recommended price, and I couldn't find a price anywhere. So I just went with one with the exact same tech specs. The NVIDIA R7 370, that's on the low end, but it has two of them. So each one costs about $150, and so then there are two. And so the approximate cost of this all, with an estimated 10% shipping, is $1,259.28. However, the Mac Pro costs $2,999. Now, I understand that businesses need margins, but that's just a crazy wide margin, especially considering that the computer isn't good enough to be justifying that big of a margin. Plus, the computer, you can find ones with the same tech specs, but for cheaper from, say, Alienware. And Alienware is known in the gaming community to be expensive. So that's kind of just an example of how crazy the prices are for the Macs. And as for the Mac operating system, I can understand people liking it because it's probably the operating system that you need to know the least about computers to use to the full extent. Well, not necessarily the full extent, because you can always do some joyous things with, say, terminals. But it's a really simple operating system, which is nice. But the thing is that the price of the computers doesn't really justify getting one. Like, if they were cheaper, again, I could totally understand. But it's just crazy how expensive they are. And Apple, in the past, has been known to be innovating. But it's just horrible as for innovation nowadays. Like, I think around the time when Steve Jobs died is when Apple went from pretty good to absolute crap. But I hope you enjoy this video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe.